welcome to The Dead Life. Here's world-renowned medium, Allison DuBois.
Today on The Dead Life, I'll be taking more questions from my listeners who want to know about murder and about mediums communicating with victims who have passed. What do the souls of murder victims say to us? Joe will be joining me in studio for part 2 to help field calling questions. He's seen me work enough cases, and he will share his very unique insight. So stay tuned. To book a reading with me, email us at booking@AllisonDuBois.com. You can follow me on Instagram at Medium Allison, or you can watch me on YouTube. To see new and past episodes of The Dead Life, please like and subscribe. If you have a life question for me and Sophia for my Love Me Not segment, leave your question at 802-332-3811. And don't forget to pick up a bottle of my Divination 22 Money Potion Vodka or Love Potion at One Handsome Bastard in Old Town Scottsdale to set your intentions for 2025. Well, Joe, welcome back for part 2.
I was just here.
I know. We're in the same clothes. Go figure. So we're going to cover part 2 because we actually had a lot of questions on this topic. And so there's more to talk about. So let's go ahead and start with the next question.
Hey, Allison. It's Noah again. So my mom does have dementia, and she sleeps a lot, and she's 99, almost 99. On March 23rd, she'll be 99 years old. She sleeps a lot, and she sometimes, will talk about her mom and her dad, that she sees them a lot, but she doesn't remember all those dreams that she has. And what is your take, your spiritual take about sleeping a lot, other than dementia, that people say, old people with dementia sleep a lot? I think, in my opinion, there is something more spiritual and more connection to the life after when they sleep a lot, because that's one way to connect. They're like in limbo. I feel like they are in limbo. And the same thing, when babies are born and they sleep a lot, they're still not completely in this world, I believe, that they're still having some kind of connection with where they came from, the souls. Do you think I'm just making it up, or I'm thinking that could be a possibility, but I need your input. Thanks so much. Bye.
That's a good question.
Mm-hmm. So when anyone who's had a baby or been around a baby for any length of time, when they sleep, you'll see them smile and you see them laugh. And it's such a nice moment and experience, because you look at them and wonder what beautiful experience are they having right now? What interaction are they maybe having with the other side, or with relatives who've passed, who are talking to them and letting them know how they're going to be taken care of and how they're loved. So I guess Noah's not wrong in this, wanting to know this and in her own sense of the process. So people with dementia that sleep a lot, my sense is they're being prepared to cross, especially when they talk about relatives who've died, especially their parents specifically. When they start talking about those people and being a small child and stories from that time in their life, is when they're getting prepared to cross over. So dementia is much harder on the living than it is on the person who actually has the dementia, because the person that has dementia, although they may seem unsettled and dissatisfied, and I can understand why they would feel that way, because their life has shifted and something's changed and they are not engaged in the living world so much anymore. So I was going to mention something, but I won't. So with dementia, I will say it's them being prepared for the other side. So much harder on us than it is for them. And when I bring through people who passed of dementia, they'll say things to the effect of, I wasn't myself. They'll say things such as, I hadn't been me for a long time and I was ready to go. So the souls of people who have dementia are often ready to let go. They're dissatisfied with the physical world. And the sleeping a lot is them being prepared to pass, because it's the other side talking to them, explaining to them what's going to happen, how it's going to feel, and it's them getting accustomed to that feeling. Also, that mom and dad, Noah's grandparents, would be around their daughter waiting for her to cross, which is why she keeps talking about them, because they're probably some of the people visiting her when she's sleeping to help prepare her to cross. With this being a 9-year and her mom turning 99 in March, it's very likely that she'll find a way to let go soon. But some people fight harder to stay in the physical world because it's all they know, and they hold on to the physical body. They don't want to let go, and they don't know why, but instinctually we hold on. Right. And some people are more deeply entrenched in the physical world than others. Some people are totally easy to let go, and they're like, great, because they've done it before, and they know what the drill is, and they let go. They're ready for that next phase of life for them, and they don't like the body they're in, and they're ready to let go of that body. So it just depends on the energy of the soul that's in the body, case by case basis. But I would say for Noah, I'm glad that you have this time with your mother. Just rest assured your grandparents are there taking care of her and loving her and preparing her. So let's go ahead and start with the next question.
Hey, Allison. Hey, Joe. Hey, Sophia. Hey, Tom. Thank you so much for taking my call. I love the podcast. I look forward to Tuesdays to hearing it. My name is Holly. I'm calling from St. Louis, Missouri, and I have a question in relation to my own psychic, possibly mediumship abilities, as well as some paranormal things that have happened in my house. So I'm going to try to give you the abbreviated version of those. So starting with the first time I think that my granny reached out to me, I took your advice, Allison, and I told her I was ready for a visit, and I was always very close to her when she was living. And within an hour of me saying that I was ready, talking to her and saying that I was ready for a visit, a knob came off of the stovetop, and that should not have happened. There was no logical reason for that happening. And I realized at that time that I had left something in the oven that needed to come out. My granny was always in the kitchen cooking, so I felt like that was 100% her. I've had pictures slide off the walls in front of me for no good reason. Antique mirrors crashed to the floor in front of me while I was sleeping. So those were a couple other oddities that have happened. I do use Granny Magic sage spray and protection oil. And then most recently I had a really vivid dream that the brakes on my friend's Jeep went out. I texted her the next day, told her about it, and within a week of that, the brakes on her Jeep actually did go out, but luckily everybody was okay. So anyway, those are just some snapshots of some of the more significant things that have happened. And my question to you is just what your impressions are on some of those paranormal things that have happened, as well as what I might do to further my own abilities. Super busy full-time mom. My daughter's an ice skater, competitive ice skater, which I know you can relate to. Don't have a ton of time, but definitely want to pursue this, and I'm just open to your impressions and your thoughts. Thank you so much for taking my call. Have a wonderful day.
Well, Holly's got nice energy. Thank you for calling in. I sort of love this for her. So her granny reached out and knocked the knob off the stovetop to let her know that not only is she in her life and the pictures on the wall, all of those are signs. It's communication. It's their way of letting you know that they're in your house, that they're part of your life, and that you're not alone. So that's very much what I get from everything she described. As far as a premonition she had about her friend whose car was going to have some sort of a very big issue that was dangerous for her friend, I'm glad that she acted upon it and actually said something and was able to help her or maybe even save her.
Sure.
That's great, because what good is the information if you don't share it? Even if something doesn't happen or it ends up being something small at first, that small thing could have turned into a really big deal later and you nipped it in the bud. And that's why the person's safe, but maybe don't see it as you saving them. It's like, oh, I stopped something from happening that was set in motion. So you're welcome.
Right.
So that could be that as well. So I don't want people with abilities to be hard on themselves if they don't get the huge confirmation that it was imminent, like it was a matter of hours or days. You know, it could have led to something bad. So you intervening is still a very good thing.
Right.
So her other question is, should I do this professionally? Should she do this professionally? I get having a skater. I was a competitive skater. I know how much time they spend at the rink. It's a huge commitment of time and money. And so I understand having a kid at home is a lot of work. And it's been my experience that a lot of psychic mediums, they have more energy to invest in their abilities, growing their abilities, and reading people professionally when their children have grown and are gone. So
that makes sense.
It's
Kids
not
are a lot of work.
They're a lot of work, and it's not that you can't do it, but even back when I started doing this professionally, I was 28, a long time ago, and Joe would take the girls and they'd go collect ladybugs on the side of the mountain, or they'd go on some roaming adventure together. Yes, he is actually that dad. He's great. And so they'd have their little adventures, and I would read 5 to 7 people on a Saturday at the time. I just allotted Saturdays for readings until it became so much that I had to do it full time.
Right.
So that's a good gauge to use for Holly. If she were to put even a day, a month aside where she could just do readings for people on those days, and you start there. And then if it picks up so much momentum that you have people booked constantly, as I had, then you have to make a decision on your career, because now it's turned into more of a career. It starts as a calling, turns into a career because it's so time consuming. And then she'll have to readjust schedules. But for now, I'd say, I don't know how old your daughter is, but when she's out of the house and in college, you're going to have all the time in the world. You don't have to wait until then. Start out slowly. Start out with a day a month or every other week and see people in that space. I suggest don't bring them to your house for in-persons. You can do phone readings from your house. Otherwise, rent a space in a psychic shop in your city. They rent out spaces for people to do readings until you get to a place where you can afford to rent out your own office space. Now with Airbnb, there's a lot of office spaces I believe you can rent out as well, because didn't we try and do that before, but the noise was too much of a problem?
Yeah, it's like Airbnb for offices, but it was too noisy. It's hard to find just the right spot, because it has to be, I like the psychic shop idea, because it will be already somewhat hopefully cleansed and have the right energy.
I'd even ask them if I could rent that room before they open the doors to the public.
Well, true, because the noise and distractions.
It's very important to be in the zone when you're a psychic medium. You can't pull impressions just from the person in front of you. If there are people walking around a shop, you might start pulling impressions off of one of them. I think that would be very confusing and chaotic.
Right.
So my suggestion is, see if you could rent a room in a psychic store and do your readings either after they close or before they open when it's very quiet, and start out that way.
Right. And she might also want to consider that if you do open yourself up to a career, the other side might take you up on it. And it is emotionally a lot of work. It is. It's physically tolling too. So Just be ready. But if it's your calling, it's your calling. I mean, there's no way around it.
Well, and depending on who your clients start out as, like even in the beginning, remember, I was getting murders and suicides. Like I've always been a trauma specialist as a psychic medium because it's my energy that I can handle it. Some people, it's grandmas, that they bring through, and they have a lighter schedule. They have much lighter emotional toll taken on them. And so you could do those readings all day long. Sure. Those don't weigh on you. Those are kind of fun because it's like reading a person's story, where they've been, what they were like, the music they experienced, World War II. Sometimes they show being at the USO and going dancing. It just depends on the time period and their experience. So depending on what our clients end up being like, and because word of mouth is 90% of all PR out there. Right. So as soon as you read somebody, energy, yes, you're going to draw in like energy to your own energy. And as soon as you read someone, they tell 5 to 10 people and you draw them in. For instance, when 9/11 happened, that's what I read of course you were. I read a person who was affected by that, who'd lost a loved one. And then she went back and shared my information with other people who'd lost loved ones. So in those instances, historically, when something historically takes place or something catastrophic takes place, your name's going to get passed around to the other widows or widowers, whoever's connected to the people who passed. And you will find yourself doing quite a bit of those readings, which helps you to identify how the person died because you recognize it from someone else you brought through. So I found that interesting in reading.
You've read other groups too, like you'll get a whole slew of therapists.
Oh yeah.
Because they tell each other, or you'll get a slew of professors or businessmen or
I read a lot of therapists.
Yes, you do.
A lot of psychologists, a lot of psychiatrists, a lot of nurses.
But you can see the network they're in, who they don't necessarily even say who it is that they knew, but you can kind of tell it comes in waves. And maybe that's just an energy thing. Maybe that's like almost astrological.
Yeah, it's an energy thing. So that's my advice to you, Holly. Don't give up on your abilities. That could have been part of your granny's message, is her saying, you can hear me. You know it's me. I'm letting you know I'm here, but I'm also letting you know you can do this. How do you want to use it? This is your gift. Use it. And so that could have been her way of pointing Holly in the direction professionally of where she needs to go for her own calling in helping people as well. So I feel like that would make Granny in this instance her guide. Right. The one that you need to talk to, Holly, the one that you need to lean on. When I start a reading, I talk to my dad and I say, Dad, I need you to turn up the volume and focus the energy of her mother, like whoever I'm bringing through. I need you to do this for me. And he tweaks their energy so that I can hear them more clearly and I can feel them more easily. And it really does help in readings. So Holly, your granny, she's your guide. She's your go-to girl, your point man, all of that. And good luck on your journey. And I think you should absolutely pursue a career with your abilities unless something shows you that you need other priorities at the time, and then you shift your energy in that direction. You can figure it out. It's an ebb and flow.
All right. Are we ready for the next caller?
Yes.
Hi, Allison. This is Susan Haggart. I'm Sagittarian. My question is, why do I keep dreaming about my ex-husband? We were in divorce in 2004, and we both have been through quite a bit since our divorce. And lately, he just seems to be on my mind a lot. He was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and since our divorce, I've had a heart attack and a heart transplant. So we've both been through quite a bit, and I was just wondering why I keep thinking or dreaming about him. Well, thank you so much, and I really enjoy your program.
Well, thank you, Susan. So this is interesting. The first thing that popped in my head as she was talking, why does she keep dreaming about her ex-husband who was diagnosed with cancer? And then she talked about having her own heart attack and transplant. And it occurred to me, like it felt very strongly, I felt that they're supposed to be there for each other. Not that there weren't reasons for them to get a divorce, but almost as if they need to heal something in each other. In other words, he needs to take care of her in her weak moments, and she him in his, and lean on each other. So maybe foundationally in their relationship, there is a friendship to be had. You know, it doesn't mean it has to be overtly romantic in nature, but it almost seems as though the universe is saying, wait, stop. Because it happened at the same time to both of them around the divorce. So let's look at what Diane Goldner, she's my healer friend and professor at Dead University, would say. Heart attack. Why is your heart sick? What hurts? So her heart attack could be, and most likely is, partially because of her heartbreak over the marriage not working or what they said and did to one another. There could be a lot of emotional issues there that only he could help heal with her. He ends up getting cancer around that same time, where the universe is forcing him to not just face his mortality, but to be more humble in nature and recognize how fragile life is and who's there for him. So with him getting cancer, it almost feels as though the universe is saying, I know this hurts. You need to swallow your pride, and you need to ask her for her shoulder to lean on, or for help when you need help. To me, this felt as though the universe was not trying to force them together, but force them to recognize that they needed each other somehow. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I do. And you have such a great track record with that. If you had an instinct and it was instant, you heard it and you felt it. I think she should go with that.
So I know that in the physical world, many of us, especially divorced women, would say, there's so much pain. You know, he did this, he did that. Well, your life's on the line and your days could be numbered. So don't look at all of that. We're not looking at hot husband cheating on you at 25. We're looking at him facing his mortality and staring death in the face while she went through a similar fragile operation where her life hung in the balance.
Well,
So
she said that it's been 20 years and they've both been through quite a lot. So it sounds like they've both perhaps grown and changed, and maybe the friendship can be there. Like you said, it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship, but they were clearly in this world to know each other for some reason. And they can both be there and make each other better.
And if they both healed from what they went through before, that could have been a preview of what comes towards the end of life for both of them, where they're trying to get them comfortable with the idea of being there for one another. Let me drop off some, dinners that I made and then froze so you could heat up, so you don't have to worry about cooking or ordering out, so you can heal. Doing things for one another. I don't know if they have children in common, but they loved each other enough to get married at one point in their life. This, with the timing of both of, their health ailments, it just seems and feels as though they're supposed to be support to one another in those moments. And my sense is at some point she's going to hear him say some very bare and raw things of moments of appreciation, his expression of his own pain and who she is to him and his love for her. So I don't feel like this is over in the evolution of whatever it is they are to become.
Right.
So for those that are out there that have maybe a similar situation, sometimes these things happen to get us to lower our wall just enough to let somebody in that we didn't want to let in.
Sure. And I'm sure facing mortality, many people it changes and they have to address things and look at themselves and their life.
Yeah. And this very much feels like a soul lesson that they're supposed to both learn together. So I hope their communication's gotten better between the two of them so that they can sort of hold hands and ride this life out and just be like, wow, that was a ride, huh? A lot of bumps and bruises, but at the end of the day, like, I'll always love you, even if the in-love nature of the relationship passed us by. That doesn't mean that you don't mean a lot to me.
That makes perfect sense.
So, okay.
All right. We're going to save the other callers for Sophia because they're more lighthearted like she is. You give me the hard ones. Thanks.
Of course. Well, I know you can handle them. Well,
I'm tough.
Thank you for being my sounding board and spending the time with me today. I know that my listeners love hearing from you as well because you're the husband to set a standard by. You are amazing. So thank you for being here and all your support. And thank you to my listeners for tuning in. Tune in next week for a fresh episode of The Dead Life. I'm Allison DuBois. This is The Dead Life. And to all of my believers, don't stop believing.
Join us next week on The Dead Life. And don't forget to subscribe now to get notified of every new episode.